English, Steducentre Lesson 24, Figures of Speech. Figures of speech. We use figures of speech to create images or mind pictures in order to express ourselves visually, imaginatively, and powerfully. Language may be used either in a literal or figurative sense. Literal or denotative language is factual. Nikki's boyfriend broke his leg. The action literally occurred. Figurative or connotative language makes use of comparisons and suggestive ideas. Nikki's boyfriend broke her heart. This is figurative language, suggesting that she is heartbroken. Comparisons, simile. These are used to compare two objects, animate or inanimate, in direct or indirect ways. Often, an expressive phrase replaces a simple adjective or adverb. Simile. A simile is a direct comparison that always contains the words as or like. For example, he is as wealthy as Bill Gates. His personality is like a bubble in a bottle of champagne. Metaphor. A metaphor is a comparison without the use of as or like. A metaphor refers to one person or object as being like another. The comparison is implied rather than stated directly. For example, he is a Bill Gates. They are both rich. She is a bubble in a bottle of champagne. She has personality. Extended metaphors. These are recurring metaphors or analogies. They are extended over a passage or throughout a poem. For example, she was the bud blooming into womanhood. She was the petal, colorful and fragile, a flower in the making. Mixed metaphors. These are incongruous and incompatible terms used to describe the same object or event. Mixed metaphors should be avoided as they contradict one another. For example, mountains of strawberries and cream were consumed during the Titanic battle at Wimbledon. We are creating a confusing image of tennis, strawberries, mountains, giants, and war. Personification. Personification gives human qualities to inanimate objects or abstract ideas. Personification and metaphors are similar in that they are both indirect comparisons. For example, Autumn arrived in his coat of orange, red, and gold. The clouds looked down and wept on the drought-stricken earth. Pride embraced her as she went to receive her award. Apostrophe. An abstract idea, an inanimate object, or a person who is no longer living is addressed or spoken to as if it were human. For example, Lady Luck, please be there when I throw the dice. Oh Shakespeare, if you could see your Globe Theatre rebuilt. Allusion. This is either a direct or indirect referral to a particular aspect. Many poets allude to Bible stories, like the creation or fall in their poems. For example, Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost, deals with the biblical themes of temptation and the fall of man. Sound devices. Alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of words. It often highlights the expression of movement. For example, football fever fuels fans. Rampant Rooney crushes Croatia. Assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. Short vowel sounds may create a mood of speed, variety, joy, or suspense. For example, the eccentric Esther enthused her listeners. Clap your hands and stamp your feet. Long vowel sounds slow down the pace and temper the mood. For example, girls in curls swirled around the stage. He slowly mowed the overgrown lawn. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia uses words that imitate and reproduce real-life sounds and actions. The sound effect heightens the visual effect. For example, the sky exploded with a crash, bang, and a hissing of fireworks. The tranquility of the scene was enhanced by the rustling of the reeds and the whistling of the wind. Sound devices. Rhyme. Rhyme depends on sound rather than on the written word. It is used for effect. For example, I am certain that this curtain was damaged in the rain again. You will not laugh if you only get half. Contradictions. Antithesis. These are figures of speech that appear to contain conflicting or opposing ideas. Antithesis. Antithesis compares and contradicts ideas or statements within a sentence. For example, don't underestimate him. He's a mouse in stature, a lion in strength. The internet is a master of technology and a thief of time. Oxymoron. An oxymoron places two seemingly contradictory words next to each other. On analysis, these words evoke a powerful image. For example, the mother waved her son off to war with painful pride. The accused felt angry relief when she was proved innocent. The litter was a pretty ugly sight. Oxymoron. An oxymoron places two seemingly contradictory words next to each other. On analysis, these words evoke a powerful image. For example, the mother waved her son off to war with painful pride. The accused felt angry relief when she was proven innocent. The litter was a pretty ugly sight. Paradox. A paradox is a seemingly absurd or contradictory statement which, when analyzed, is found to be true. It is in fact an extended oxymoron. The opposites are not next to each other but are found in the same sentence. For example, you will kill him with your kindness. Your deeds will do more harm than good. She is only happy when she has something to worry about. A happy warrior. Irony. Irony implies the opposite of what is said. The intention is for the opposite of what is said to be understood. It is the tone which tempers or conveys this meaning. For example, I can't wait for my detention on Friday afternoon. Walking into the empty cinema, the woman exclaimed, "Fortunately, we're booked." Situational irony. Here, the opposite of what is expected occurs. For example, a detective who is employed to catch a thief might himself be arrested for dishonesty. Dramatic irony. When the audience has knowledge of something of which the actors are unaware, this is referred to as dramatic irony. This technique heightens tension and expectation. For example, in the play or film Little Shop of Horrors, the audience is aware that the plant craves human blood. The characters, however, are blissfully unaware of this. Sarcasm. Sarcasm, like irony, occurs when one thing is said but something else is intended or understood. However, sarcasm is used with the express purpose of hurting, insulting, or humiliating. For example, you must have worked very hard to be bottom of the class. Are you always the heart and soul of the party? Satire. Satire is a sharp wit, irony, or sarcasm used to highlight, expose, or ridicule human, social, or political weakness or stupidities. The satirist aims to change the situation, educate, and entertain through humor. This play allows one to express oneself in a way that would normally be construed as libelous. Satire is used in plays, cartoons, and comic strips. Caricatures in cartoons are often the vehicles for satire. Satire continues. For example, Peter Dirk Ayers, in his persona of Avita Bezenout, perfected satire as a tool against the then South African government and its apartheid policies. Jonathan Swift satirized the times in which he lived in his novel Gulliver's Travels. In Animal Farm, George Orwell satirizes the communistic way of life. Mad Magazine satirizes the American pop culture. Parody. This is the imitation and or exaggeration of other text types, for example, a poem, in order to satirize or create humor. Parody is often used in cartoons or comedy. It is assumed that the reader is familiar with the original work. For example, this is the house that man built. And this is the flag of the women's franchise, which is making our ministers open their eyes, fighting with grit to the front bit by bit, determined by the parliament one day to sit. The bold suffragette who is sure to get yet, into the house the man that built. Appropriation, borrowing. This is similar to parody in that parts of an original text are used in a different context for a different audience. For example, fairy tales and myths are borrowed and reconstructed. For example, Roald Dahl makes use of this in his book Revolting Rhymes. Epigram. An epigram is a brief and pointed statement which often contains humor or irony. There is usually a deeper underlying meaning. Friendships is what one expects from others. If you think education is expensive, try illiteracy. Employ a teenager while he or she still knows everything. Exaggeration and understatement. A hyperbole is an over-exaggeration not meant to be taken literally. It aims to create humor or emphasize a point. For example, the teacher complained that she had hundreds of interruptions that day. She had prepared enough food to feed an army. Litotes. Litotes are used as a negative and an opposite to understand what is intended. For example, he is no Einstein. He is academically weak. The gruesome sight was far from pretty. It was ugly. Euphemism. Euphemism expresses an unpleasant or uncomfortable situation in a more sensitive, kind of tactical manner. The purpose is to soften the blow, protect feelings, or to be politically correct. For example, the camp forbids any form of chemical stimulants, drugs, and alcohol. He passed away. He died. Innuendo. An innuendo is a disapproving remark which hints at something without stating it directly. For example, how did you like my production? The sets were beautiful. This suggests that the production was not particularly impressive. Do you possess a clothes brush? This implies that you look scruffy. Climax. A climax is a build-up of ascending ideas. It reaches a peak, creating excitement and heightening tension. I saw, I stared, I screamed. He stood on the chair, looked around, stuck his hand in the cookie jar, and was caught red-handed. Anticlimax. An anticlimax is also a build-up of ideas, but the final statement is often flat and unexpected. The room was luxuriously furnished, beautifully painted, tastefully decorated, and crawling with cockroaches. Others. Puns. A pun is a clever play on words, alike in sound but different in meaning. The double meaning is used to convey humor. Headlines make use of puns in order to grab attention. Puns are often used in jokes or riddles. One of the most famous puns about weddings and marriage is I'll utler him. For example, cricket captain stumped. Why did the tennis player have insomnia? Because there was a racket in the room. Rhetorical questions. A rhetorical question expects no answer. The speaker uses it to make his points and strengthen his arguments. It is a powerful tool that allows the reader or audience to focus on and consider the posed question. Public speakers often make effective use of this device. For example, why are we allowing stress to become an invisible enemy? The speaker then elaborates, stating his opinions and solutions. Synecdoche. In a synecdoche, a part is used for a whole or a whole is used for a part. For example, my heart grieved when my puppy died. All of me was sad, not only my heart. Australia won the cricket. It was the team, not the country, that won the cricket. Metonymy. In metonymy, something associated with the object represents the object. For example, the hotel has an excellent table. The food is very good. Malapropism. A malapropism is the unintentional use of incorrect, similar-sounding words. The speaker often uses language above his or her understanding in order to impress. For example, the cannonballs ate the missionaries, cannibals. I can assure you that this is correct. Assure. Spoonerism. A spoonerism is a transposition or mixing up of the initial sounds of spoken words. For example, he hissed the mystery lesson. He missed the history lesson. Thank you. The Steducentre, turning ordinary learners into extraordinary leaders.